fatenzo.com, 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 fatenzo.com.
You ready, Pierce?
Let's do it.
You hear me all right?
Perfect.
All right, here we go. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Fuck the Grammys. Daylight savings time. Little late, but time for Bobby Pickles, baby. That is me, baby. Woo! Hey, how's it going, man? How's it going?
Good woman.
Buenas noches. Soy Don Roberto Vicente, alias Bobby Pepinillos. Bienvenidos a mi podcast. For those of you who don't speak the Español, I am your broski, Bobby Pickles, and on tonight's Sunday evening stream, we have with us tonight, a former Proud Boy, now gone rogue. But this little tidbit of information certainly does not define him. He's a God-fearing gentleman. He likes to read the books and writes the words. Perhaps he's an intellectual or a pseudo-intellectual. One thing is for certain, he is a self-identifying cat owner, which means he is most probably either closeted gay or he probably just pretends to like cats because his girlfriend is the one who actually really likes the cats. Anyway, we'll get to the bottom of these pressing issues tonight with my guest, Pierce, host of Blackballed Podcast and RadioBlackballed for MTMedia. That's Murder the Media. Pierce, thanks so much for joining me on this Daylight Savings Day, which leads me directly to my first question of the evening. Daylight savings time, yay or gay?
That's kind of gay. I didn't know it was daylight savings time until about 2 hours ago.
You didn't?
So I was wondering my alarm was earlier than normal. I felt tired the whole day. I had no idea that it was a thing still. I didn't know it was today.
It's today. That's why I thought that's why you wanted to start so late.
No, I really I was busy this morning. I just moved into a new place, so I've been packing and moving and getting the rest of the stuff here, and I still don't have a studio, so I was trying to get it to where I had some free time today.
What do you like better? Do you like better having the extra hour or losing the extra hour?
I like losing it because the days stay day longer, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I'm the same way, man. I am the same way. It's also Grammy night. Fuck the Grammys. What do you say?
I say fuck the Grammys. Yeah, the Grammys are pretty fake and gay.
Yeah, they are. They are. Is there any kind of what is the Grammys again? Grammys is music, right?
I think so. It's like Grammys are music and Emmys are like TV shows.
Dude, why do Grammy and Emmy both sound like things a pedophile, would exclaim or something, or be called, right? So weird.
We're talking about Hollywood, so it's not too far fetched that these are just like code names that they ask to be called when kids are behind closed doors.
Oh, absolutely. McCarthy was right. Back in the day, man, he knew that this is what's happening, man. All the Hollywood was just a bunch of commie scum. They were really ahead of their time back then, But anyway, it's just Pierce. Let me ask you a question, man, about your name, man. It's just Pierce. Is that the extent of your stage name? Do you have a fucking last name or not?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doxxed, so my last name is Benefield. Yeah, that's my first name is Pierce.
Yeah, but that's what you usually go by, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have like a million different aliases. You know, why didn't you? You know, how did you just settle on the one first name? That's it.
Well, I didn't think I was going to be doing according to Antifa, the podcast of the Proud Boys. So I never expected anything to be needed to hide my name or my identity. So I just went with my first name because it's like original. It's kind of, you can remember it, I guess. It's not like Peter or John, you know? So no need for a nickname. But the chat that I have in Telegram calls me Daddy P, calls me faggot, all those cool things like that. So I have a few nicknames. Dude,
tell me more about that, bro. What is the deal with that? I mean, I'm on their hit list too, and they say the same thing. If you go in the podcast comments, you'll see that this is a podcast. You know, it's just for like Proud Boy propaganda, something like that.
Right.
Basically. So I guess I got that label as well. You know,
it's weird. Yeah. Like, it happened right when I had, I think back to back, I had Nick Oakes and then I had Enrique Tarrio on, and then they just labeled me as the Proud Boy podcast. Cause I never really talked about me being a Proud Boy until Enrique was like, you know, us Proud Boys. And I guess they just caught onto that, ran with it and called me the new podcast of the Proud Boys, which I'm not. There's plenty of better Proud Boy centered podcasts.
Like this one. No. But no, I mean, how was it having that scum on? I mean, he's a real piece of work, right, Enrique? I mean, I kid. I love Enrique, you know, to an extent. But it's kind of like spy versus spy for us, you know? We're kind of always tripping each other and stuff like that, and it's just fun. But what is it like? What's your perception of the old chairman?
You know, I did a few things privately with Enrique in Atlanta, where I'm from, and then got to meet a really cool group of people because of him. I genuinely still don't know how authentic he was in being in the organization, because he was either a really good trickster or he was just a Fed informant that happened to be dumb on how to like tell people about it or not tell people about it. He never was a dick to me. I never felt like he scammed me, but you know, the grand consensus is he's done a lot of shit to a lot of people with his like clothing company and all this stuff. So he definitely wasn't a good leader in DC. That's my opinion on it. That's the thing that really got me kind of off the Enrique train, was the leadership I saw in December and then in January where I wasn't there.
Well, let's just back up a second because we'll get back to that. All right. Mm-hmm. But, and we can elaborate more on Enrique and how much of a scum he is, because he really is. But you actually just alluded to where you were from. You said Atlanta. And I did hear on your last podcast episode with Ryan Rivera, you mentioned being from the Deep South. And I wanted to ask you about the Deep South and growing up in Atlanta area. And how was that? Like, and also, how does that, like, I heard on that same podcast that you were a former liberal. How do you become a liberal when you're from the Deep South?
Yeah, so I'm deeper now. I just moved to Alabama. I'm deep South now. I'm trying to pick up the Southern accent some more. Maybe start dipping. I don't know, but
you don't really have it though.
I don't know. I did like theater. This will explain why I'm liberal too, or why I was a liberal. I did theater my whole high school career. Did literary events, extemporaneous speaking, and all that stuff. I liked talking on stage. And so I tried to get rid of my Southern accent when I was a kid. And now I have a tinge of it, but I don't have too big of a Southern accent. So I grew up in like a very liberal arts centered education. And so I was naturally more progressive than people around me that were adults. But when I got to college and really saw liberal arts kind of full blown and what it led to, that's when I became libertarian. And then after Trump was elected, I think it was around 2017 when I became very, very right wing.
Yeah, that's the same story as me, man. Pretty much. What kind of liberal arts education did you have?
I mean, like I said, I did theater performances. I would go to literary competitions every year. So I did everything from.
Did you get like your BFA or whatever? Or?
No, I was going for originally a bachelor's of theology. I was wanted to be a pastor and like a theologian, but then I went to another college and went for psychology and philosophy. So I was always in some form of social science, and that's where I saw the brunt of like the liberalism kind of come out of it.
I was an English major. I have a BA in English literature. Dude, I was totally indoctrinated 100% into being a liberal. And then I lived in New York City. And I heard on that same podcast that you spent like a month or whatever in New York at one point. And you took a bus up there or whatever. And but I lived up there for like 6 years in the city. And holy shit, man. You can't really be a free thinker. Like if you're even remotely an asshole at all, everybody will get around you and tell you why you think wrong or something. You know what I'm saying?
Very aggressively.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a big hive mind. The North is a big hive mind. The South is too. I think the only thing the South gets into so much shit for is because the accents down here do sound really dumb. So when a New York guy's yelling at you, he sounds right. He could be a homeless guy talking about how like he's Jesus. And you're like, I think he is. I mean, but in the South, people just yell and they don't make any sense.
I mean, I get your point, but New York accents do sound dumb as well. You know,
okay.
Especially like a really deep Italian New York accent. It's just like, that's fucking retarded. Absolutely.
I got you. Like an Italian from Long Island.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You don't think he sounds like a genius when he's out screaming at you, but it's fun though. You don't take offense to it though, you know?
Right.
So, and I have the same thing too. The whole deep South thing, self-hating Floridian, absolutely hate it, despise it. Well, I don't know. I guess I'm fucking cursed to be here forever or something. But you know, I made my escape, but I came back.
Are you a part of like redneck Florida or like big city Florida?
Well, Tampa. What would you consider? You been down here at all?
I've been to Tampa and I've been to Orlando and Miami.
All right. Well, I'm from St. Petersburg, so that whole Tampa area. There's more. Yeah. I'll give you the breakdown of Florida if you want. I mean, I've said this a couple of times on some other podcasts, and it's so funny. Everybody, like, when I tell this to people, sometimes months later, they'll say it back to me like they're telling me it. And I know that I made this up and I realize this. But the way that Florida is, I'm in South Florida, sunny South Florida. I'm in West Palm Beach, more specifically. This is the best area. I mean, anywhere from West Palm down, West Palm, Broward, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, down to Key West is probably the only place you want to live in Florida. But the way that Florida works is the migration patterns. You got Route 75 that comes down the west coast of Florida and, goes right through my hometown, St. Petersburg and shit. But that goes up to Ohio, Dayton, Ohio, I believe, and that's where it stops. 95 goes up the eastern seaboard, goes up to, New York, Boston, everything. People literally just get on the highway and they come down, and then whatever side they end up on coming down that highway, that's where they end up. And so on the West Coast, it's all Midwesterners. It's Ohio people. It's people from Michigan, people from Ontario, and they procreate with each other. And holy shit, dude, after like 30 years, it's basically a Midwesterner's wet dream down there. You got no shoes, no shirt, no teeth, and everything's fine. Nobody even looks at you twice. Over here on the East Coast, Southeast, South Florida, it's a lot better, man. You got the Cubans. That's how I know Enrique. I was in Enrique's chapter when he was just our chapter president, and I was in it probably like right after him. And I saw the whole thing as he went from a regular person, just our buddy, to chapter president to international chairman. And I saw the whole progression of how he became famous and how he's dealt with his fame. And it's been interesting to watch. He definitely didn't do everything perfect. He's a scum on many levels. But he's also good too on certain levels as well. I've seen him, be loyal. I've seen him be like rise above the ability to be, corrupt, Anyway, not everybody is perfect. They don't all, hit 500.
Right, and you, of anybody, would have a better knowledge of him than I would. Because I only ever knew him as the face of Proud Boys. And by the way, my criticisms with the leadership aren't just particular around him. I didn't like a lot of things going on up at the top. So yeah, I only knew him as someone that I met in person a few times. That was great to me, but leadership wise, yeah, I wasn't a fan.
What was it specifically about the leadership? That was in DC. I was in DC that time. That's the stabbing time, right? When C. Neely and Noble Beard, who are both going to be on the podcast tomorrow, incidentally, I'm going to have the stabbing episode. Okay. So we'll see what they say about that. But what was it exactly about the leadership that time that you basically did? So you quit the Proud Boys, or you weren't disavowed or anything like that, right? You left on your own accord. You're in good standing with everybody. You're friends with everybody. Which chapter were you in, and how far in were you? When did you join up, and how many degrees did you attain?
I am from Atlanta, so I joined the Georgia Proud Boys at the time in 2018. But as people probably know, there's not a Georgia chapter anymore. There's not a Georgia Proud Boys thing.
What happened down there?
It disbanded, and there's not a functioning chapter down here. There are guys that want to be Proud Boys that are probably considered Proud Boys that live in Georgia, I'm sure, but there's no statewide sanctioned Proud Boys group. When it came to the leadership, and I was a third degree. So tattooed and everything. When I was I was out there in December doing reporting. That was my goal for Murder the Media, for MTMedia, the company that I work for, to do some reporting on the ground, to have some fun clips, to have some serious stuff where we'd get inside the action of what was going on during the Stop the Steal rallies, the Million MAGA March, Ali Alexander, Alex Jones, Nick Fuentes. They were all there in their own regards, their own groups, having a protest against the election, having a protest showing their strength in numbers with voting for Trump and believing in Trump over Joe Biden. But when I got there, I noticed that every time the Proud Boys leadership gathered around, it became about Antifa. And look, dude, I don't like Antifa as much as the next. They've tried to ruin my life a few times. I don't think that they're good people, especially the ones that are these boots on the ground, black bloc shit. But we weren't there for Antifa. We were there because our government was corrupt, is what I believed. And the Million MAGA March was there to show support and solidarity with Donald Trump and what he was going to bring us as a president. Whether or not we have any disliking for Antifa, it seemed like the second Proud Boys got there was chance to fuck Antifa and trying to go and, I'll say it as politely as I can, protect the streets from Antifa. But as far as I know, Antifa didn't do anything while we were there, except for stab people after Proud Boys went out looking and making sure that they weren't doing anything. They didn't do anything to buildings. They didn't do anything to citizens, as far as I know, when we were there. And I think it was only after Proud Boys started making post online on Parler that they were going to kick Antifa's ass, and you know where to find us, is when shit happened from BLM people and Antifa people. So I didn't like the fact that we were there to show support for our nation, our country, our president, and our beliefs, and yet we turned it immediately into an Antifa versus Proud Boys thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, was that the only rally you went to?
I've been to a few. I haven't ever been to the Pacific Northwest areas where things get really bad. And by the way, I completely understand that there's people that I know that have been very, very in the trenches against Antifa during these big rallies that have gone south. I'm not discrediting it all, fighting back against Antifa. I just don't think that anything there was no reason why we should have done that in December from what I saw. They may have known things better than I did, but it seemed like there was no issues at all with Antifa. Every time we ever saw them, they were in a big, almost like military form, shoulder to shoulder with Jews will replace you on their signs, and just standing together. They weren't moving. They weren't trying to attack anybody, as far as I saw.
Mm-hmm. Did you go out that night? You went out the night there.
I went out there. I think I was out there. I don't know when Noble Beard got stabbed, but I was out there like 10 minutes. I got inside 10 minutes before he got stabbed, because I was actually doing a show on my network right when he got stabbed.
Mm-hmm. Did you bring all your equipment there and what were you covering it live and stuff, or just get like video and edit it afterwards?
I didn't have the equipment that Dick and Nick from MTMedia had when they were there the following month, but I did have everything I needed to record. I had microphones, I had a camera guy, and I had like a little Santa Claus hat on. I was trying to be cute because it was December, but I had everything to pre-record stuff, and I uploaded most of that footage to my Patreon.
Dick and Nick, huh?
Yeah,
that's funny. And of course, you're alluding to Nick DiCarlo's alias, where he switches it around. Dick and DiCarlo. It's pretty hilarious. Now, how did you get hooked up with those guys? How did you get hooked up with Murder the Media?
I met Nick DiCarlo, I think it was 2 years ago now, but right around September of 2019, we had met up drinking and just having some fun. And I told him that I had an idea for a network where it was going to be, I couldn't find a really good name for it. I was going to call it Spoken Freely. And the premise of it was, no matter what side you fall on politically, no matter what side theologically, whatever your beliefs are, if you wanted to work on this network for music, for videos, for podcasting, for blogging or journalism, you had that outlet, you had that opportunity. And it was the rule was nothing is censored, nothing is forbidden, except for obviously like pedophilia, like that was it. But Nick goes, I have that same exact idea, and he was farther along with that idea, had a cooler name, so I was like, yeah, dude, I'm down with it. I liked the stuff that he and Bill had done as Thunderdome TV, and I wanted to be a part of that network because I knew that they had a good drive. They knew what to do when it came to how to blow up the Twitter sphere, the social media sphere with good quality content.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're obviously the main talent. Why not start your own channel? Why do you need these scums for?
I'm not the main talent, I don't think. In fact, anything cool from my show has probably been done by Dick Nicarlo, or I basically told him what I wanted, but I didn't know how to do it, so he did it for me. I'm getting better at it, but
soon you won't need them.
Soon, I don't know. I still like working with those guys. I still feel like they never said this, but I feel like they're my boss, Bill and Dick. I feel like they're my owners. They have my contract somewhere.
Yeah, I'm totally joking though. Those guys are great. I love them very much. I appreciate you guys putting Fat Enzo ads sometimes for like no reason whatsoever. I really don't even ask for it at all, and they just do that, and that's so cool, But yeah, those guys are good guys. I know that there could be a lot of pluses going by yourself, but then there's also a lot of pluses with having a team behind you. Mm-hmm. So you guys got to weigh those two things, right?
Yeah.
So how are things?
I think that working with them is a lot better. I feel like I never wanted a show that was about me. I kind of started the podcast because I thought it was a fun try with my friend. My friend Daniel and I started the podcast in 2017, 2018. And from there, it just kind of grew into, I didn't have any friends that were still here. Most were busy at work or most were busy in college. And so I was just left to do it by myself.
When did you start it? Sorry.
I think it was either December 2017 or January 2018.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Mm-hmm. And I started mine in December 2012. Actually,
nice, that's insane. That's early podcast days.
Yeah, I started it pretty early, actually.
Wow.
And then I think I've been silenced on the down low at some point because I was gaining traction at first, and I was on this reality show, America's Worst Tattoos, and I taught the tattooer into the cover-up tattooer into doing my podcast while I was on there. And then Jim Carrey stole my name. It's a long story. Anyway, you got to watch out, man. Yeah, like we were saying before, these people in Hollywood are total, Satan worshiping scum. So,
they're scum, man, for sure.
How are things running over there at MTM, man? Murder the Media, with the FBI arresting all your co-hosts, Nick Oakes and Nick DiCarlo. Are you guys able to be like running and shit right now? Is operation as usual or what?
Operation for me is as usual, except for they took, before the feds got involved, pretty much every outlet that we had a big following on took us down. So Murder the Media got canned from DLive. We had the most following there, a few thousand followers there. I was averaging 50 to 100 viewers. Thunderdome TV was averaging probably like 60 to 110, 120. I mean, a lot of people were tuning in. It was a really easy spot to find us, and we were trying to make it like a TV channel. It was really cool where it's like always a show on at all times. After that, Trovo took us down, and then the feds got involved with Dick and Nick. So it's been a work in progress to try to get back, I guess, around their legal parameters, and also to start a new network. But there are some big things in the works. Dick Nicarlo, the genius that he is constantly working on a new way to watch MTMedia, and it's going to be, I think, it's going to be anything better than Owen Benjamin's done. It's going to be things that are better than Nick Fuentes has done. If this is half as good as what Dick is working on and the people he's working with, if it's half of what he's promised, it's going to be better than most things out there right now.
Dude, really? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, I hope there's a slot for me.
We're recruiting a few people in. We got some names that have been released. We got some names that haven't. Dusty Bogan's a big name that's coming on to the network.
Who's that?
Dusty Bogan? Oh, he's an Australian Proud Boy. He actually is on Gavin's network as of right now. He's been on my show a few times. I've been on his a few times. Great guy, really funny dude. Drinks more than anyone I've ever met. And we've got Hate Facts coming on, a few others we can't talk about. And of course, I'm sure if Bobby Pickles wants to come on, Bobby Pickles can get on.
Yeah?
Absolutely, dude.
Oh, that'd be awesome, man. That'd be such an honor. I would love it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Dude, we got like a movement going on, man. But we have all these Proud Boys. They're still in the club, man, and you're not. I mean, how's that working for you? Are you happy that you're not associated with the organization anymore? I mean, kind of bummed out. Do you kind of regret it at all, dropping out? I mean, are you getting a cover up?
I don't regret leaving the Proud Boys because it's different than when I started. As a group, it's different. It's seen different, which I don't care about. But the people inside that I'm around, that I have been around, see it differently too. And that's what matters to me. I don't like where Proud Boys went, and I don't think there's a way back to where it was when it first started. I think there's a reason why the bigger names that kept the groups more solidified have left, and I don't regret leaving. I do regret not being able to see people that are like brothers to me anymore as much as I used to. I regret that because there's nothing that I don't have an issue, dude. I've personally met people like Rufio. Rufio is the nicest guy that I've ever met. I can't say one bad thing about him. I've met people like Nick Oakes. Nick Oakes is a sweetheart. He's a great family man. There's nothing wrong with men that are in the Proud Boys. It just wasn't a group that fit what I believed in anymore. And I don't want to spend my life kind of walking on eggshells for my future because of things that I don't really feel inclined to do anymore. I've never felt inclined to go and rally myself. Atlanta's not a place where I've needed to, fight back against Antifa or something like that. And I don't feel like the group identity, it matches my individual identity anymore. And I want to kind of get back to being an individual, not because of the Proud Boys, but on a side note that's related. I'd say about a year and a half ago, I became I started going down the path of radicalization. It had nothing to do with the Proud Boys. I want to make that clear. But after getting out of that, thank God, I was able to realize that the individual matters a lot to me. And individual people matter a lot to me. When it's all said and done, it's not Antifa or communist or Proud Boys or whatever they want to call us the next week or the next week. It's people. and people's hearts matter and people matter. And I want to focus on who I am as a person and who people are as people, as individuals. Man. I think that group identity has historically been dangerous, and is also presently a very big threat to our country and a big threat to dividing us more in a negative way.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there, Pierce, because politics is groups, I feel like, but you're right. I mean, like the collective, that's the other side. Those are the Dems pretty much. And we are the individuals. But there's a lot of problems with being individualistic too. You do need the group at some point. There's a healthy medium in between. So, I believe the group that matters the most, and COVID taught me this, becoming de-radicalized taught me this. The group that matters the most is what's right next to you. It's your family. It's your church. If you're religious, it's your God. Those are the people that should define you as the group that you are. I'd rather be a father than to be a figure for a group or the face of a group. I'd rather be the face of my future kids' lives or my family's lives than to be the face of a political group. And I'm not saying you can't have both, but I'm saying that that's what mattered to me the most was to, if I'm going to be group identified, it's going to be that I am, a brother, a son, a future father, a future husband. That's the things that I want to be seen as a group, not as a guy that has to wear a certain color or hold a certain creed that I might change from later on. Mm-hmm. Do you think you might get into politics later on or down the road? Or
I think so. I mean, if anything, just a local level. I think the local it's what's more important. It can be fixed much quicker than from the top of the pyramid.
What do you think about running as a dino? I mean, like you and I, my name is definitely run through the mud, but if I could somehow convince people that I was still a liberal and run as a dino, you get in there and then you pull the old switcheroo, because in a lot of these, especially this right here, I'm in this same district as Laura Loomer that she ran in. So a lot of these, these counties or districts down here, they're heavily D. They're like D plus 10, plus 13 or something like that. So there's no way you're really going to win as a Republican, and definitely not as an independent. So I'm thinking we all play dirty just like they do. Let's all run as dinos.
Yeah. I think that that's the unfortunate result of all this collective thought or this group identity, is because it is now so far to one side or the other. And right now we're on the side where everything's on the very far left, the progressive left. And that might be something people have to do. They might have to, I'm not advocating this, but it's a good idea to become a dino, to become like a trans Democrat. And then by the time you get in, you're fluid again, you go back to the right. But thankfully I don't have too big of an issue in my local area. Georgia is becoming blue, apparently. I don't doubt that, but my local area now in Alabama is a lot more red state, conservative, backwoods. Still not the best. I still don't like the GOP, but it's better than being blue.
You like living out there, huh? In the middle of nowhere and stuff, or out in the woods?
Dude, the ultimate goal is to go full Kaczynski and get a shed in Montana.
Why Montana?
Montana seems so pretty. It's something that is away from everything. And to be honest with you, here comes my kind of half a fag side coming out. Everything that I've ever been interested in seems to point to Montana. Like I've been reading a book recently called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And it's based out of Montana.
Who did that?
Robert Pierzig.
I heard of that book.
It's a great book. That, he was out of Montana. Kaczynski, who was a brilliant mind, just a scary dude, was out of Montana. And the idea of isolation's been on my mind the last year or so.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask you about books, because you did say that, you said you're a reader. I was going to ask you, what do you like to read? What is your favorite book? Like, do you have a favorite?
That's hard, man. I think that my favorite two kinds of books, my favorite, I guess, two genres would be nonfiction. Like I love Man's Search for Meaning. I love Zen. I think that like
what's Man's Search for Meaning? What's Man's Search?
Man's Search for Meaning is
Sounds like that's nonfiction, right? Sounds like nonfiction.
It's a nonfiction book. It's based off of a story from a survivor of the Holocaust, and it's a really good book. He was a psychoanalyst when he went in. He was a professor, and him explaining the psychological distortions that happened throughout the camps, and his story there was a really interesting book, and how he had to find meaning again. It might be Man's Search for Meaning. I think it's what it's called. Mankind's Search for Meaning. But really good book. I love Hemingway stuff. I love like 20s literature, Hemingway, Fitzgerald. One of my favorite books is A Movable Feast by Hemingway. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just him writing basically about his day. And Hemingway just writes what happens, and it's the most beautiful thing you've ever written. It makes you want to be there in France when he was there. It's a really cool. I like the way he writes probably the most.
You know who also loved the way he writes? That guy right there. That guy right there, Hunter S. Thompson. On my back wall right there. And see, he's pointing the gun at himself. Those two both blew their brains out. And
yeah, man. Yeah, Hemingway's whole family blew their brains out. I mean, like generation upon generation.
Yep, his father, his brother. That's right. He blew his brains out with a double-barrel shotgun. Papa.
He meant it. Oh,
he did. But actually, in order to learn how to write, Hunter S. Thompson would just literally copy, word for word, how he was writing. How he would just copy like a Hemingway novel in order to teach himself how to write those short sentences like that. But
they're beautiful. Even some of his, I think Hemingway once wrote. He won a short story award for, I think it was like 5 words. And it was something along the lines of like sold a pair of shoes, size like 2 or something like that. It was like basically the whole story was one sentence, and it talked about how a kid had passed away and his mom sold the shoes. And it's like that dude used maybe 5 words for this short story, and it was the most remarkable thing anyone had read that year. It's crazy. I love the way he writes, and I kind of like to write like Hemingway.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, if you could say something in 10 words and you could say the same in 5, you always use 5. You always condense it down as much as possible. So,
absolutely.
If there was a book that you could recommend to a Proud Boy type person to help them in life, would there be something that you could recommend?
That's a good question. I'm going to be... I have 2 books, and they're both like, duh, or come on. But I would recommend the Bible, and I would also recommend 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
Love that book. That book really helped me when I was going down collective thought train. I was going down the fasci route. And
the fasci route?
Yeah, the fasci route, man. I was on the track to become a full-blown fash, and I'm glad I did not go there.
Oh my God. So while you were a liberal, you became like kind of extreme in thought on that side as well, and then experienced this side too?
I went from liberal to libertarian. Then 2017, I became right wing. And then a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago now, I became interested in fascism. I thought there was no other way. I thought that, and that's kind of the issue I have. Is like the larger the shift becomes between the left and the right, the farther the right has to go. And I don't think that that's an excuse. I don't think that the left being communist at this point is an excuse for fascism. But at the time I was going down that rabbit hole, and that's where I was going to become. What
kind of fascist did you like? Look up to any fascist leaders?
Yeah, I resonated a lot with at the time with Hitler. I loved his leadership. My father's from Germany, and I was influenced the most, I think, by Hitler's writings or people that wrote about Hitler. I enjoyed how smart I found Hitler out to be. I enjoyed how economically, environmentally conscious I found him out to be. I enjoyed that he was a Renaissance man. He was a writer, a painter, an artist. He designed the bridges, some of the first bridges that happened in Germany. He helped design the first, I think it was Volkswagen. I mean, like, he was a brilliant man.
The people's car.
the people's car. Exactly. And
V Gates. Oh, I'm sorry. I said, how you doing, V Gates?
V Gates, es geht mir gut und dir?
Oh, super.
That's just richtig. Yeah, I got influenced by Hitler a lot, and I think it's good to understand people like Hitler. I think it's good to understand people like Marx, but not because you're trying to make them relatable so you can follow them. I think it's good to understand that you could easily become them. You can easily become the people that you hate the most, or the people that have become really, really wicked.
Now, did any of the reading and studying about Hitler, did any of that have to do with hating Jews?
I never, and I know that that's one of the things I've been attributed to is my anti-Semitism. The chat always reminds me that I am also part Jewish, but so I don't hate individual Jews. I still to this day don't like the country of Israel as a government. I don't like the amount of money they receive from the U.S. and the little they give back. I don't like the useless wars in the Middle East. That's not just Israel's fault. But at the time, I did start to go down that hole where it wasn't Jewish individuals, but it was Zionists that were in charge that I did not like. Zionists that were in charge of the banks and the pornography industry and all of these things. It kind of led me down a further trail to where I could easily have hated individuals. But thankfully, that's right before I kind of got off that boat.
What made you get off the boat?
Honestly, I think it was me realizing that it didn't match my faith, my worldview that I was beginning to have regarding fascism and regarding this almost ethnocentricity. Did not match at all what my God told me to believe about people and about races in his book. And I noticed that as I was going down this rabbit hole to the farthest end of the right political spectrum that I could, that I was not listening at all or reading at all to what God was saying. The person I'm supposed to believe in the most, the person I'm supposed to follow after. I was following the agendas of dead men that never knew me and never cared to know me, but I was abandoning my Heavenly Father, and that's when I kind of sobered up. And a few people in my life were there to tell me, thankfully, that I had changed and not for the better. And I think that it's rule number 9 of Jordan Peterson's book, where it's basically start every conversation not thinking you have all the answers. Maybe that person's going to tell you something you need to know.
No shit. You got to remember that for doing a podcast too. And sometimes it's hard to, not cut people off and just go off on your own thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's a book you would recommend to a libtard in order to plant within them the seed of self-awareness, which will make them realize that they are actually the problem in society?
There's a few. The Gulag Archipelago.
I just started it.
It's a great book. I'm trying to get my hands on a fully English, fully translated copy of 200 Years Together by the same author, Alexander Solzhenitsyn. He goes over in that book the issues with the Holodomor, the Ukrainian Holocaust. That's a book that I would recommend to any liberal that is not just someone that's born and raised in a woke 2021, but someone that is politically minded and they fall on the left. I would recommend that one, or The Rape of Nanking. That's more of that's a little bit darker, but the Gulag's the better book. It's like a good primer for understanding how fucking dark liberalism and the left and communism can get. Yeah.
And I like that guy, Yuri, that guy who talks about, the Soviet, the ex-Soviet KGB guy who always talks about subversion. That dude really puts it in perspective. But in the archipelago, some of it sounds exactly like what's going on today, like really close to what's going on today in America. So
100%. Another book I'd recommend too is Michael Jones's Libido Dominandi. I'm not a Catholic guy, but that man makes me want to be a Catholic so bad.
Oh shit, I'm a Catholic. That's great.
Okay. Yeah, you would love E. Michael Jones. Here's the issue. E. Michael Jones does have a very big issue with Jewish people. But that book explains the sexual revolution being completely a way to thwart Christianity and thwart America down into the cesspool of Marxism.
Yeah, maybe that was part of it, right? The whole degeneration of everybody. I mean, what do you think about boomers? Like, boomers are they like the worst generation? You know, I mean, their parents were the best generation. Are they the worst generation, pretty much?
I think so, man. I think that that boomers were they weren't the suspect, but they let their children become the suspects because they weren't there for them. They weren't good parents as a whole. That seems to be when the decline of the family structure really started to happen. It seems like that was the point where children were then to be taught by their schools or their government, not by their parents. And you can trace the fall off right around that time.
Yeah, you can. Definitely. I see it. Those are also that's the first generation to be completely brainwashed and manipulated by screens. And they actually grew up, you know, when screens were invented, and they grew up right in front of them. And they cannot, to this day, I think, get a hold of themselves and realize that they're being manipulated by the mass media. Wow,
that's a good outlook on that. Because they are the ones that we have this whole boomer meme because they are so easily deceived by what's on Facebook or what's on their screen. You know, my parents still watch Fox News or MSNBC and are still like believing with their heart. Like, my mom thought that I was a suspect in the Capitol riots because she heard the name Proud Boys. And I was like, I wasn't there. And I was like, and by the way, like, it wasn't like every Proud Boy was there. It wasn't like this creed where if you don't go, you're not a Proud Boy anymore and all this stuff. That's an interesting outlook, because even people that are like millennials like myself or Gen Z, they can sometimes see through the bullshit of what's online. And it seems like boomers have no hope with that.
Yeah, I don't think they do. But you bring up an interesting point. I want to talk to you about this topic too. You know, you can't spell patriot without riot. Don't try to steal that anyway. That's a T-shirt I'm working on. But what are your thoughts on the Capitol siege? And you just said that you weren't there, but I was going to ask you if you were there too. Gonzo journaling for MTM, like these other two guys, Nick and Dick.
You know, thankfully, in retrospect, I wasn't able to go. That's when I had first found this house and was first transitioning from my old job to I started doing like online work, working like, I guess, through Zoom meetings and stuff like that for my new job, because it was still so many hours away and I couldn't be there. But I wasn't able to get off. I was like, well, if it's a Zoom conference and I have to be, can I not just be there on a trip? And they were like, well, you're going to be busy. You can't do that. So I couldn't get off. And my gal, my fiance, told me not to go either. She had a really bad feeling. So like any man, I got in my feelings and became a 5-year-old again and started pouting and bitching about that I couldn't go. But in retrospect, I'm very glad that I didn't. Because unlike Dick and Nick, unlike the two Murder the Media guys that were there, I would have probably done something. I would have probably instigated something, because I really don't like our government. I really don't like this massive overhaul of power they have now. I don't like that at all. I wouldn't have done anything violent because that would have gotten me instantly killed. But I want people to know that are inside of our government that we could easily do something about it and do something about them. And I hope that happens. I hope that there's an overthrow of power eventually. I think that the riots were the best course of action that conservatives could have done if they wanted to do something like that. Because instead of burning a Target down, or instead of killing a guy on the street for people that you don't know, they attacked who they thought their enemy was. You know, when the riots for George Floyd happened, when they attacked the police station, I was kind of for it. I was like, yeah, I mean, the police there fucked up. They hid the body cam footage. They blocked voices out. They seemed scared about what was going to happen if they unveiled the whole footage. And so when they attacked the police stations, I was like, well, yeah, rightfully so. I mean, this police officer seemed to have fucked up. I didn't know anything at the time. But when they started to burn down targets and kill innocent people is when I go, well, what was the point of that? You didn't solve anything. I think that if you think our government's corrupt, then you should do something about it. And we were told until January of this year that we had the right to do something about it. We were told that we had the right to do anything possible to get a tyrannical government off of our backs. But that's obviously not true anymore. Mm-hmm. It maybe never was true.
Yeah, we're definitely in a pickle right now, huh? I mean, this is upside down clown world.
Yeah.
$27 million to George Floyd's fam. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that it'd have been a lot better at the end of the day if George Floyd were still alive. And I think it would have been a lot better today if George Floyd, when he was alive, was a father for his family. They wouldn't need $27 million. They'd have a father. I think that Derek Chauvin fucked up real bad and played a part in George Floyd's death. Because a police officer that's trained, as far as I know, no matter if a guy's attacking you or puts his gun out at you and you shoot them to defend yourself, you immediately go and try to save their lives after that. That's what police do. Police are trained to try to save that person's life, even though they just tried to kill him. Derek Chauvin was on top of a man who was unresponsive for far too long and should have at least sought medical treatment once he was no longer moving and detained. I think that the fentanyl in George Floyd's system is what really killed him, but I don't think Derek Chauvin helped, and he should be held responsible for that to some degree. But $27 million to George Floyd's family after people destroyed that city without knowing the full story is pretty moronic.
Mm-hmm. And so you think that the Capitol siege or whatever, that was not even close to the response that the left has been doing ever since George Floyd's death.
Correct. Yeah, the left does two things. They hurt innocent people, and then they say something's broken, so they tear it down, but they don't put anything back up in its place. The family structure was broken and racist and patriarchal and sexist, so they tear it down. And then you go, what do you put in its place? And they don't do anything. They just leave the rubble there, they leave the ash there, and they leave you with a broken family and no answers. The same thing happens with these riots. It's like the left has always historically been the ones protesting and rioting, whether it was union issues or civil rights or all these things. And, God bless them for that. But to attack innocent people and to burn down family-owned stores or even corporations like Target solves nothing, hurts civilians, not the people that are actually the enemy. And I think that the right that was there on the Capitol riots had the right idea. If they were going to overthrow any place or anybody, it should be our government, because our government's the one screwing us.
Mm-hmm. What about the vaccine? You going to take the vaccine?
No, I don't plan on taking the vaccine. I haven't taken a vaccine, I think, my whole life. I don't think I was vaccinated as a kid either. I think my mom got me out of that.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's one thing about our boomer parents, though. My boomer mom, they came to her and they told her that I was on ADHD and I needed Ritalin, and she told them to go fuck themselves. And I'm pretty happy that she did that, actually. Yeah. Thank God, because that stuff can really screw you up and take away all your ambition and talent and everything. If you're on it at an early age, Well, dude, I mean, to be prescribed those things for the rest of your life at 5 or 6. I mean, you start out as your whole life, your whole childhood, your whole growing up. And who knows what it does to your hormones, what it does to your health. But for your mental health, you're just a robot the rest of your life. Just this geeked up person or this sedated individual. You're supposed to be a boy. You're supposed to, have fun and explode and get all of your energy out. And we're not supposed to be sitting in like this cubicle at 5 years old learning about shit that doesn't matter. I learned cursive for the first 3 years of my academic life, and I don't use it at all now except for my signature. Is school a total waste of time? I think that I actually, as far as this thought has gone in my head, I'm pretty okay with a government-sponsored way to educate children. Obviously, it's turning bad now because they're indoctrinating them with non-scientific ideas, with very dogmatic ideas, and that's an issue. But I'm cool with the principle or the idea before all this to
have a way for kids to learn through the taxpayer system. I'm also cool with, I was private schooled my whole life up until college. I much prefer that. I much prefer homeschooling. When it comes to college, if you're not doing STEM, if you're not doing science, technology, engineering, math, all this stuff, I don't think that there's any need at all for you to be in college. I think that trade jobs are great. I think that STEM's great. If you need college for that, by all means. But most people get a degree like you or I. We get some kind of social science degree or an English degree. And historically, none of my friends that I graduated with have any job. They're either jobless or they're working at their mom and pop shop, with a history degree while they're selling trophies,
Dude, I went through that whole thing. I worked for Verizon Wireless in New York City, though. I worked at like all the different, like pretty awesome New York City locations. I even worked at 100 Wall Street. So I literally worked on Wall Street for a year and a half. And I worked there during the Wall Street, the Occupy Wall Street and all that stuff. I remember everybody had their arms like locked one morning on my commute to work, and I had to run and then go through the whole through the blockade of people and stuff. It was just, I never like said, "Oh, let me quit my job and join the protest" or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it was it was very interesting. And the point was, I had a degree from the University of Florida, not even a shitty degree. And that was what I could get. That was the job I can get. So I started making t-shirts because I realized that making t-shirts is a form of writing. It's really about the concept. And it's just like a billboard, basically. If you watch Mad Men, they always work in the creative department at an ad agency. It's always the copywriter guy who's a copywriter, W-R-I-T-E-R. He's the concept guy who comes up with the idea. They work with the art director. The art director gives the copywriter what he came up with, basically. A lot of artists, a lot of graphic designers are a dime a dozen, and it's just the truth. They don't have a good idea behind it. They might not know technically how to draw or how to do whatever, but it's really the idea. So just to let you know, if you are some kind of writer person, and I know you said you are, that you do some writing, you could probably come up with some kick-ass t-shirts. And I would love to start a line with you, man. If you ever want to start developing a line for Blackballed. How did you get that name, by the way? I wanted to talk to you about the podcast. Great theme music. It's very like GTA-esque, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Who came up with that theme? Who did that theme music, man? That's some good theme music. And how'd you come up with that name, Blackballed? It wasn't because you got blackballed out of the Proud Boys. No, you did this a lot earlier. So
yeah, I did this before. I think right before I joined the Proud Boys is when I started the podcast.
Right. It was not particularly political at that point, and it kind of like changed.
No, my first episode was like Keemstar level shit. I was like gossiping about what was going on in the YouTube sphere, and then talking about my issues. It was more of a therapeutic thing when I first discovered like my lack of responsibility, my lack of my complacency, my lethargy that I had in life when baseball was over, when college was over. I got really, really depressed. And
you were into baseball?
Yeah, I played baseball my whole life. Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude. Hell yeah, bro. And you didn't make it to the show?
No, I didn't.
How far did you get?
I got to college. I played a few years in college.
Nice. So what position did you play?
In high school, I'm a lefty, so I was first base, pitcher, and outfield. And then when I got to college, they made me a pitcher only, so I just pitched.
Okay, and then you wanted to get to the show though, and you couldn't hit the 90 mile an hour speed consistently, or what?
No, I never wanted to go pro. I liked playing it just for fun. I really enjoyed playing baseball. I still enjoy coaching it. I coach it now. So, and I can only do that once a week. I travel back to Georgia once a week to go and coach baseball for the games. The other coaches coach the practices and help me with the games. But I played baseball my whole life. I think the highest I threw was like 87. But I threw consistently in games 84, 85. I wasn't too fast.
Did you have a lot of movement on your pitches?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Lefties always got great movement. I had a circle change that was really good. My curveball is still insane. It's really good. I still every time I do batting practice at all with the kids that I coach now, I ruin their lives with curveballs.
Yeah, I really want to push for us Proud Boys to start, doing softball or something like that. I mean, you'd kill it in a softball league.
That'd be fun for sure. But I came up with the Blackballed name because of that Hollywood term. So if you say anything that goes against Hollywood or the norm of this like ruthless group that works over you, that rules you, they blackball you. So they take you off of your ability to get a job or get a house. And ironically, that came to fruition years later, with my show. But the idea was to say what I felt and say how I thought about that, knowing that my opinions and my beliefs would probably change over the next few years, and they did. And that I wasn't going to apologize for those beliefs. Like even my more radical shows are, I think, still on YouTube, but I don't regret them because it's where I came from. It's where my mind went and how I came out of that. And I like seeing where you came from. It's like what baptism is. Baptism is a physical sign of something that happened spiritually. Baptism isn't what regenerates you, but it's a physical sign, like the circumcision was for the Jews in the Old Testament, of what happened inside your heart. And I like seeing where I've come from and how I've progressed, or how I need to progress farther if I've been slipping down a slope or whatever. And that's where I got that name from. And
then what about the music?
The music that plays when I introduce, like when my little Blackballed logo shows up, is something that I found searching the web for G-Funk. I really like West Coast G-Funk, and that little synth you hear on Summertime by Fresh Prince, or like Snoop Dogg's oldest songs. It's like a church organ that they just synth as high as they can go.
That's the same one on the podcast?
That's my intro. My background music is lo-fi jazz. I really like jazz, and I thought jazz was too like melodramatic for my show, so I got some lo-fi to kind of get some bass in there and make it more active.
That's right. You do have. I used to put the music underneath it, and then people get mad. Some people are like, they don't, I can't hear and stuff like that. So I've been doing the last couple, maybe done the last like 20 with no music, but. I used to do a lot of music underneath all the time.
Yeah.
But jazz would be a good thing, because then it's just kind of, you can go, it's good for stream of consciousness, I guess.
I like it a lot. It helps me when I'm especially not having a guest on. It helps me feel like there's more live things around me. It feels like it's almost like another person talking to me. I've always liked jazz. Like I have Coltrane's greatest hits in my car at all times. Like I love good music like that.
So what's your long-term goal for the podcast?
I never had a goal for it. I don't think I still do. Like whenever I started to get bigger guests, like I had like Ryan Rivera from Gavin's show on Censored.tv. He'll be on again tomorrow. I've had Blair White on my show.
You have him on a lot though, huh? Ryan Rivera?
I love Ryan.
Is that like the third time, right?
This is the third or fourth time I've had him on. Ryan is a really cool guy. I got to meet him in person a few times too, and hopefully he'll be coming down to live near you and I soon. I know they're thinking about moving to like Georgia or like Tennessee.
Who?
Gavin and him.
Gavin and him,
yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, dead serious.
Oh my God, dude, this is so awesome, bro. I mean, listen, yeah. I told you I hate Florida. I'm a self-hating Floridian, and but one thing, man, moving up there and living in New York and stuff, I didn't want to come back down here because I was doing the podcast up there, and it was so easy to talk to people that are your like heroes and stuff like that, track them down or whatever up there. Yep. Every band comes through there at least twice a year, right?
Yep.
So this market isn't the same as that. I was really depressed, but now, wow, I can't believe what's happened. All these people are fleeing these areas. Pretty interesting, huh? Where you have actual talent moving to your little town or whatever. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Could you grab me a beer? Thank you so much. Yeah, it's crazy. I moved to. I was going to move permanently to New York when I went up there. I was going to like surprise my family and be like, I'm running away. I found a job in New York and I got 2 jobs. Thank you so much. Yeah, for sure. I got 2 jobs when I was up there, I was selling ferry tickets, and then I started doing. I started another job with my buddy Devontae. I can't go further than that, but I was making some money up there.
Oh, and, you were going door to door or whatever, right?
Yeah, I was a door to door salesman.
Yes, you were. Oh my God, I purchased from many of you guys before my time. Anyway.
Yeah, I did that, and I was going to move up there because the music that I liked. You're right. Every band was coming up there to play. The people that I really was into for podcasting or for their political thoughts were all up there, and it was almost more, in a way, I think, respectable in my mind than moving to Hollywood. You know, Hollywood still seemed, though I didn't think it was demonic back then, it still seemed fake to me, and New York seemed more of like a, you know, boots on the ground, hardworking. I make my own route, I make my own path kind of thing. But yeah, I was going to go to New York and just stay there permanently because I thought it was going to be the answer to meeting all of my heroes and starting a job with people like that. But then I got to New York, and after about 2 weeks there, I hated it. I realized it was like Vegas. You just got to visit. You can't stay.
Really?
Yeah, man. I didn't like living up there. I lived actually probably near where you were working at. I lived on the corner of Gold Street and Wall Street for 3 weeks, and then I stayed in Brooklyn Heights for the last week.
Okay, nice. Hell yeah. Yeah, you did. That's where my old stomping grounds were. You say you are a Christian. When did you start loving Jesus? Did that have to do with you coming out of the extremism?
No,
that's the last thing I'm going to ask you, I think.
No, you're good. I became a Christian. I mean, I'd say authentically I became one when I got out of college, but I was raised in a Christian environment my whole life. I was the leader of Christian movements when I was a kid. I used to do street preaching when I was a senior in high school, and I was really involved in the church my whole life, but I never took it seriously until I got to college. I was really good at being a Christian guy on the outside in high school, but I was very inauthentic when I was doing that. I was a sex addict. I was a horn dog. I was fucking everything I could find. And it wasn't until after college that I kind of sobered up and realized that I should take my relationship with God more seriously if I believe it. And it was really what kept me from going and staying radicalized was my faith, and kind of coming back to that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm not a Catholic yet, but I really enjoy you guys. I appreciate you guys. You guys are like the only ones doing hard work against the woke movements right now.
So you think you might do like a Gavin McInnes and convert to Catholicism at some point?
I don't think so. I've really tried to. In fact, there's a Catholic guy in Georgia that I talk to as much as I can. I've been reading the Baltimore Catechism, and I've been really trying to focus on a good explanation for a few things in Catholicism that I still can't reason with. And so I'm pretty much a wannabe Catholic. I'm a Presbyterian. And so we're like the first thing that came out of Catholicism during the Reformation. So I'm almost with you guys, but not quite.
Nice. All right. Well, almost is okay, I guess, you know? Dude, listen, I really appreciate you being on. I thank you so much for being on my podcast, man. Dude, have me on sometime. I don't want to invite myself or anything like that, but fuck it, have me on sometime, please. I'd really appreciate it.
I would not only love to have you on, I would and have wanted to for a while work with you on clothing. I have a few ideas for a non-blackballed clothing thing that I wanted to get started, and it's been a thing that's in the back of my head for years now, and also for some blackballed merch. It's got to be cheaper than Teespring, so I would love to have a more localized guy that actually is good at making shirts, make the clothing for it.
Yeah, we're not that far away, and I would love to talk to you about that, dude. Thank you so much.
Sweet.
All right,
absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on.
And we'll do it again sometime. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for watching the Sunday stream, ladies and gentlemen. If you're in the market for awesome custom t-shirts, check out fatenzo.com for our line of pseudo-intellectual party tees. Check out fatenzo.shop for Perry's and Proud Boys swag. Check out Proud enzo.com. I'm Bobby Pickles, and I've had an outstanding time with you today. I appreciate you very much, but I'll appreciate you more for liking and sharing this podcast. There's a 20-year-old nerd sitting in a back room at Google with cum stains crusted on his pants, deciding who wins or loses in life because he learned how to code while living in his mommy's basement. Are you going to allow that? I hope not. It's time to fight back. Give that dork a slap by posting this to Facebook or Twitter or Parler. And always remember, friends, proud of your boy. Vaya con Dios. Adios, mi amigos. Let me see it. Oh, shit. Dude, I need my stupid Asian producer, man. And I'm not talking about fucking Ryan Rivera.
Bobby Pickles Podcast.